Hello everyone, welcome, and ignore the messy kitchen behind me. We are sitting at my desk / dining room table today because I am going to be exploring my 5 stars from the last couple of years and seeing what I give 5 stars, what about the book I think made me give it a 5 star, and just kind of walking through some of my favorite things in books. And hopefully I can kind of pinpoint a little bit better what it is that makes me give a book a 5 star. I have seen several other people do this. I think Cassidy has done one. I want to say Riley Marie has done one. Kayla from Books and Lala has done one. So I will link some of their videos down below, the ones that I am able to find, so you guys can check those out as well. But if you know anything about me, you know that I am really bad at 5-star predictions. I don't like making them because I feel like I suck at them. So what I'm hoping is that looking through this will help me really try to narrow down what is it that I like in books and why do I give them 5 stars, because I need help. I need someone else to tell me. So I'm just gonna pull up my Goodreads book stats because most of my books I do put into Goodreads. I rarely ever do I not put a book into Goodreads when I've read it. So this should be pretty accurate. Okay, so let's start. I'm just gonna do 2022 and 2023, mostly because I feel like my taste has changed a pretty good bit in books. And while I might have loved something in 2020, 2021, probably more so like 2020 and past, it may or may not line up super well to my reading taste now. And a lot of the point of this video is to see what I would give 5 stars right now. So I do want to explore those. Let's start with 2022 and let's look at the books that I have given 5 stars in 2022. Well, let me blow this up a little because that is really tiny. There we go. Okay, so in 2022, I only gave 8 5 stars on Goodreads. Wow, that is sad. So we're gonna look at 4 and 5 stars. But when we're looking at the 5 stars, All the Lies was part of the Mind F series. I don't really know what it was about that one that made me give it a 5 star. I think it's a romance or a like romantic suspense. And I think it was the fact that it had more of a plot focus than it did the romance focus, which I kind of already knew. Like, that's not a super surprise for me. I don't remember The Overnight Guest super well now. I think it was one of those in the moment 5 stars. So unfortunately, I'm not really sure on that one. But Project Hail Mary, I do think I can pinpoint a little bit more what I liked about that one. It is a very science heavy and like real life science kind of book where it focuses on science for the plot and the world building. And I do really like it when the science is the world building, where it is plausible that something like this would happen in real life. I think another book that comes to mind that I also fondly look back on as a really highly rated book is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and it also has a really science-heavy focus, and the science is a large part of the story and built and woven into the story, and it's not just like a complete pseudoscience. It actually makes sense. Now, is it completely realistic? Probably not. I'm not sitting here saying that it is, but it makes you feel like it is, and it makes it feel like this is actually something that could happen. So I think that that is probably the main thing that I loved about that one. There are a lot of other things in that book, like strong friendships and humor. I would not say that either one of those were things that made me give it 5 stars. As a matter of fact, humor is typically something I gravitate away from. So I really think it was more like the science being the world building that really made me enjoy that book. Then we have, I'm gonna skip over Crescent City. That one was a reread. We have Caliban's War, which is a science fiction. It's part of the Expanse series. So for this one, I think that it was really the characters that did it for me. I normally would say I'm not a super character-driven reader, but I definitely feel like the characters were what made this a 5 star for me. There is Bobby and Badass Grandma, which is Avasara, and I really appreciated both of those characters. They're 2 very strong women that don't take crap from anybody. They know what they want, they're gonna get what they want, and they're gonna do it right then. I think that the science part of this and the space opera I definitely did find really interesting. Is it something that made me give it 5 stars? I don't know, because other books in the series I definitely did not give 5 stars, but Caliban's War, the characters definitely did it for me there. Recursion is another one of those that has the kind of science as the world building type of book where we're definitely focused on what if this could happen and how could this happen. It's a memory based type story. Same thing for Dark Matter, which I also really enjoyed. So I think that that just kind of reaffirms that a scientific world building is something that I really like. Okay, and then we did There Are No Saints, which is the First and the Sinners duet. I loved this one, did not at all like the second one. For this, I think it's just that it's kind of dark, even though it's a romance, it's a very twisted romance. And I think, I don't know what that says about me, that that's what I liked in the romance, but it was weird. It was a little unhinged, a lot unhinged, and I just had a good time with it. It's not like a groundbreaking, I would always give it 5 stars kind of book, but I did have a good time with it. And then with Ashes of the Sun, this one is a breakneck speed, which I would say I don't typically like, but I still think that the characters were really well developed. And so for me, even though it was a breakneck speed, it had a really good balance of a super, super cool world combined with a fun plot and fun characters, and it was just the perfect book in the moment for me. I enjoyed the banter, and I enjoyed, like I said, the world was probably my favorite because it was just very intricate and I feel like very well thought out and different from what I normally read. So a cool world building for sure is something that I look forward to, or I look for in 5 stars. Okay, and then I'm just gonna kind of glance through my 4 stars for the ones that I remember being like up there on the reads, because you know how sometimes you have a 4 star and it really, really sticks with you and you have a great time, and then you also have a 4 star that you look at and go, why the ever living heck did I give that a 4 star? Definitely have some of those in here. Some of the first ones that I can see, Ruin of Kings, I really enjoyed. I think I liked the sort of confusing, complicated plot that this had, but I also liked the unhinged character. Taryn, I think was her name. Unhinged, completely crazy, loved her, found her to be fantastic. So an unhinged, sassy, kind of crazy female main character apparently works for me. We're gonna see that pop up again here in just a second. But I also liked the footnotes and the way that the story was told in this one. It is a little bit gimmicky, but I had a good time with it. And so I don't know if footnotes are something that make or break a story for me, but I definitely enjoyed them here. I also see the Black Coast. I really liked the aspects of culture and stuff in here. It had some great moments, but also some not so great moments, but I think the focus on culture was really cool in that one. Empire of Gold, just a solid book. I really like, again, the world building that is done in the David Bad trilogy. I think that it's something that's different, and you don't see a ton of like Arabian mythology type stories, and I found the magical companion and magical creatures to be really cool in this one. That's something that I do think I really like, is magical creatures. Okay, same thing for like the fall. It had magical creatures, a really cool world. Grey Sister, I said we were gonna come back to that kind of unhinged, really sassy, snarky female main character, and Nona is definitely that. So absolutely that. However, I also think that this book has something else that I like giving 5 stars, but I feel like if I tell you what it is a spoiler, but I will tell you what it is later completely out of context, so hopefully it won't spoil anything, but I really like that in stories. I'm trying to look and see if I see anything else. Bitter Twins was another one of those that had really strong magical companions or magical creatures. Same thing, Name of All Things had the same thing that Ruin of Kings did. We have Blood of the Chosen, again, all of those for the same reasons. A Touch of Light also has magical companions. It has really intricate world and world building. So I think that all of those are things that we've kind of already touched on. Gallows Hill has really, really good atmosphere, like haunted house atmosphere, and I think that Darcy Coates does a great job with tension. So slow build horror that has a lot of tension to it, I think is something that I do really appreciate. I don't want it to be too slow and like drawn out, but if you can kind of create that build and make me wonder what's going on and slowly build it up to the scare factor rather than just trying to come straight out of the gate, I usually find that I prefer those types of horrors. And I think that I like that kind of in my romance too. Like I like a build of tension, not just wham bam, thank you ma'am. Okay, I guess let's look at my 2023. These are gonna be a little bit more fresh on my mind, so hopefully we'll be able to pick out some really good ones here. We have Shades of Madness, which is the second book in the A Touch of Light series. So again, magical companions, cool world. From Cold Ashes Risen is Eska, and I can tell you why this is a 5 star. And again, there are 2 reasons, and they are both very similar reasons to why I liked Grey Sister. And Red Sister is also a 5 star from this year. I don't know, I don't think I changed my rating because I gave it a 4 star when I originally read it, but that's another 5 star from this year. So I definitely think that just snarky main character along with this other thing definitely worked for me really, really well. Blanky is one of those that I think did a great job building the slow tension, but is actually a short form horror, which is hard to do, but I think something that I really, really like. Same thing with Ghost Eaters. I didn't find it to be I didn't find it to be super long, but I think that both of them did a good job building tension. Both of these are grief horror, and I don't know if I would say that that's something that makes it a 5-star for me, but I do find it interesting that both of these things had grief horror in them. So maybe I need to look into that a little bit more. Fireborn and Flamefall and Fury Song, that whole series was a 5-star series for me. I don't know, I think it has crack. I know what I really liked about this one, and something that I can be very hit or miss for me. I am not somebody that loves politics where you just sit around and kind of scheme and talk about things, but then no action is ever taken, so you don't get to see the repercussions of the talking. So talking politics does not really work for me. However, politics with revolution, I think, is something that works really, really well for me. I think you guys will see this after this, but I did give Winds of Strife a 4-star last year. That has a revolution type plot, Fireborn revolution type plot with some really cool, intricate world building and really interesting politics that play a super large role, but there's action behind those politics. So I definitely think revolution is something that I enjoy in books. Then we have Collarbound. Collarbound is just one of those that has a super, super cool world. It's not one that the characters just stick out to me a ton. I do like them, but it's not something that I'm just like, oh yeah, that character. But the world in this is super cool, really well done. And I'm excited to continue on in that series because I think that the plot is just going to expand to be super cool. But definitely the world building is what got me in the Collarbound. And then Serpent in the Wings of Night is one of my favorite fantasy romances that I've had, and I know that I like it when a fantasy romance lets you get to know whichever lead is supposed to be the main character without them having a relationship first. So Araya is definitely the forefront of this book. It is all about her, and then she just has a relationship that kind of begins slowly at the end of the book. And so I loved getting to know her first and really understanding her and her motivations before we added a man or a woman into the mix. I like vampires. I think that that's something that I'm a vampire girly. I don't like werewolves. I'm a vampire girly. This one also has a competition, and I love a well-done competition element. I think that that's something that really like gets me on my toes, and I want to know how it's going to play out and what kind of cool trials that can come out of it. So a competition or trials that are really unique and fun, I definitely love. And I'm a fan of enemies to lovers with great banter. If you've got really good banter and you can tell that they like, she doesn't hate him, or maybe she does hate him, I don't really care, and the banter back and forth is just really witty and quick. Love that. Love good banter. And so by extension, a lot of times I like enemies to lovers because I find that you find banter more in enemies to lovers. Similar concept with Fourth Wing. That is a enemies to lovers with good banter, but I did really like the dragons in here. I will say that the dragons in Fourth Wing and the dragons in Fireborn are very different. The dragons in Fireborn kind of are just magical companions, magical creatures, whereas the dragons in Fourth Wing are like their own characters. And Temeraire does it as its own character, and while I could appreciate that book, I didn't like it as much as Fourth Wing. So I'm not sure yet. I have not read enough dragon books or enough magical creatures books to be able to say, yeah, I prefer them to have their own personality and talk, or I prefer for them to just kind of hang out. However, I will say that Ninth Reign and Bitter Twins, those magical creatures, magical companions, do have a very clear personality, and I liked that about that book. So maybe I do prefer it when they have more of a personality. I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss, so I'll come back to you guys on that one. And then Queen of Blood had a couple of things that I really like. It does have a school setting, and I like it when you have a school setting where the characters are learning about the world. Fourth Wing did that as well, where it had a school setting. Same thing with Red Sister, but I don't want a school setting that's just kind of there and you're in a school. I want to learn about the magic with you. I want to learn how you're doing the magic. I want to learn about the history with you. I want to learn about the maps and the worlds building. I want to learn all of that. And so the school setting that has a very prominent focus on learning is something that I quite like. And then Queen of Blood has just a really cool magic system with magical creatures / monsters. And I liked the way that that was done. I thought it was good. So I guess we can quickly look at the 4 stars. I feel like we've talked about these a lot. Fires of Vengeance has obviously a revenge revolution type plotline to it. I did like this one a little bit better than Rage of Dragons because the plot is a little slower and we got to know the characters more. And I know that I've normally said I am a plot driven reader, but I think that I am more of a world / character driven reader, but also not character driven. So it's kind of a hard line to break, because a book that is completely character focused, like First Law, is okay, but I do tend to get pretty bored in those because you have to take time to really get to know the characters and to get comfy with them. Same thing with like Wheel of Time. I feel like it's a very character driven story, and if you don't like the characters, I'm out, because there's nothing else to hook me. There's nothing else to engage me. So I hesitate to say that I'm a character driven reader for that reason, but I will say that I need strong characters in a book to give it a 5-star. I can give a book a 3-star or 4-star and appreciate it without great characters, but typically I need good characters to give a 5-star. There are a couple of exceptions in here. I know I said the characters in Collar Bound, like I remember and I liked, but they don't stick out in my mind super well. Same thing with Queen of Blood. The characters were not the reason that I liked that book. It was more the world building and the magic system that made me like that one. However, like in Killers of a Certain Age, it is nearly completely character focused, and it's kind of quirky and kind of weird, and there's nothing about that book that I should have enjoyed and nearly given a 5-star. Like, there's just not. But I did, and I liked it, and it was the characters that made me like engaged in that story. We have more Aska, we have more Mira Grant, which is that science-focused world building. Umbral Storm is one of those, again, that just has a really cool magic system. I thought that was really well done. Some more Darcy Coates. Mary is one of those that's just an unhinged slow burn horror. And again, you can get a too long slow burn horror, but I think this one did it really well, where she was just feeding us Easter eggs, or he was just feeding us Easter eggs as we went, and like there was always something about the point that I was gonna get bored that was like, oh, wait a second, tell me more. And so I never got to the point where I didn't want to keep reading, because every single time I started to find myself getting a little bit bored, something else would happen that was cool or creepy. And I quite liked Mary. I thought that one was really well done. Same thing with Blood Mercy. It is definitely a character-driven story, but I think that the characters were so well developed and so well done. But this one also has a really cool and intricate world to it too, plus vampires. So we're just reaffirming all of the things that I thought. So I think that that's all of the ones that I'm going to go through. So let me share with you guys really quickly what I wrote down that I think I'm going to be looking for in future 5-star reads. So we have a science-based world. We have a interesting, like cool, intricate type fantasy world. Magical creatures or animal companions. A snarky, strong female character. Shadow companions. Slow tension, so whether that be slow tension in romance, slow tension in horror, just a really good buildup of tension. A revolution plot, a plot that has a competition or trials, really good banter, enemies to lovers, and a school setting. So these are all things that I find that I really enjoy in books, and I'm going to be looking for in some of my future 5-star predictions. If you guys have any recommendations for me, leave them down in the comments below, because I really want some more 5-star recommendations. I've not read enough 5-stars. Like this year I've done better. I read 12 5-stars, but like literally last year I read 8 and one of those was a reread. So I need to step up my 5-star game. Leave them down in the comments below, things that you think that I would give 5 stars. And let me know what some of the things are that you look for in a 5-star read. Are you pretty similar to me, or do you hate a school setting and a snarky female lead and you want them to be more of a cinnamon roll with friends to lovers? Like, just let me know that kind of stuff down in the comments below. If you don't really have anything to say and you just want to let me know that you were here, leave me a pencil emoji. Thank you guys so very much for watching. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.